This is the most important part. We have business succession issues, jealousy issues, disgruntled relative issues. But the thing about it is you can remove your estate from that environment if you take action. And we have all the tools that you need to do that. The first tool is the Family Vision Matrix, and that's designed to get everybody's cards on the table. It's a powerful tool that'll help your parents, that help the parents make important decisions. And here are some of the issues that we're always looking at. How do the parents envision their retirement years, but how do the children envision the parents' retirement years? What do they envision if parents are ill or infirmed? Who's going to take over the place? So here's how the Family Vision Matrix works. We identify issues on every place, and every place has some different issues, but there are some core issues that every place has. Let's take a look here at the top. How do I envision the continued operation of the place? How do I envision ranch assets to support mom and dad in their retirement years? How do I envision continued operation if mom and dad aren't able to contribute work? How about in the event they need long-term care? Which parts should be sold? So what we do is we send one of these forms out, and first we identify the issues. Usually there's 15 to 20 issues, but we've had even bigger ones than that. And we'll send those out to all the family members, sons, daughters, sons-in-laws, daughters-in-law. If we have older grandchildren who are going to be involved, we want to know what they're thinking too. So then everybody fills out their form and sends it back, and then we compile it here, and this is where the matrix part of this comes in, so we can look at what everybody responds side by side. So let's just take a look at this family, and of course any resemblance to any other person or family is coincidental. This is a fictitious family. So let's just say that we have this, we perform this, and now we want to look at what everybody did. So how do you envision the continued operation? Well, Dad wants to get the debt paid down, maybe some expansion. Mom says that John and James will work together, each having specific responsibilities. And before we go any farther, let's talk a little bit about this family. We have the mom and dad who own a ranch, and their oldest son is on the ranch working with them. Their daughter-in-law, Jenna, here works in town, mostly so they could have health insurance. And then their youngest son, Will, is kind of a prodigal ski bum, surfer guy, travels, goes to school a lot, doesn't live out on the place and rarely comes out there. And you'll see some fractures there with Will in the middle of them. So the oldest son says, yeah, he wants to get the debt paid down just like Dad. But he says we need to work on some sort of formal change of ownership. And this is a big red flag because he's worked out there year after year after year with only the promise from Dad, the verbal promise that he's going to end up inheriting that place someday. But there's no paper to back it up. And I will tell you right now that you can make as many promises as you want, but a promise is not a promise until it's written down, signed, and notarized. Then it is a promise. Anything short of that is not. And this is one of the biggest problems we see in ag operations today, where one son stayed behind or a daughter stayed behind, or even two kids. Then they are supposed to be getting the place, but the rest of the kids somehow end up with big shares after the parents are gone. So this is an issue that you need to, if you're the in-charge generation, you need to understand and take steps. Otherwise, you might not have that person around. Daughter-in-law, she says that Dad and John will work together, but eventually, my husband's going to take over. Will says, well, we're going to operate as normal, but after Dad and Mom are gone, we're going to split it in half for each of us boys. So you can see that the two sons have totally different ideas here. Okay, how do they envision the use of ranch assets to support Mom and Dad? Well, Dad says we'll do some traveling, but I don't want to jeopardize profits. So he's hooking his retirement now to how profitable the ranch is. And if you look at people who have a real structured retirement plan, this is not how it works. You need to have the money or the assets put aside to do that. Mom says that, well, James is going to have to purchase some shares from us so we can have a retirement. Well, James is looking at this going, hey, that is not what we talked about. I'm out here working side by side. I'm helping produce a living. I'm helping make this place grow, working like a slave out here. And our understanding was that I was going to inherit the shares and be gifted shares, but not have to buy them. So there's a disagreement there. The son says, well, the ranch income should give mom and dad some support if the ranch is profitable, but we should not sell assets to support their retirement. So he's thinking down the road about his inheritance, not necessarily his parents' comfortable retirement. So we've got some issues there on retirement and some education to do on what retirement really should be. The daughter-in-law says, well, at this time the ranch pays all their expenses anyway, so it shouldn't be a big change, but support should be given with some sort of allotment. And basically what she's saying here, and what her mother-in-law is saying especially, is that that daughter-in-law wants to put her on a budget, and that's not going to work. What's Will say? Well, the ranch should support them, but I hope they don't sell assets. I want to inherit. So what about if they're not able to contribute work? Well, Dad says James can take over. He can pick up a hired man or two. I'm sure Will not come back. I think Jenna is not interested in helping. Mom says, well, James will make the decisions, and hopefully the grandkids will be old enough by then to help out. James says, I'd have to hire some help, and there is no way I'm going to work with my brother if he tries to come back. Jenna says, I'd be willing to help out. I invite the opportunity to contribute. And what we found out here in visiting was that she was always willing to help out there, but she always felt like she got shoved out of the way. Will says, at this time I would not consider coming back, but as a shareholder I'd want some input as to how the place is run. So you can see he doesn't really have a realistic view of what's going on out there. But the big problem is if these folks don't do some estate planning and get their assets in that calm environment, Will could really cause a problem. Will's attorney could cause a problem at Will's direction. How about the long-term care? Well, Dad says we have long-term care. Mom says we have insurance. The oldest son, I hope they have nursing home coverage. The daughter-in-law says the ranch will always support him if it's affordable. So that's another red flag. And then the youngest son says, yeah, I sure hope they have that coverage. So you can see just by sending those out and compiling this, we've identified a lot of issues in this family that we finally got to expose and deal with. You can't deal with these issues unless they're exposed. Here's some more issues. What if what happens if the parents survive one of their kids and the child that was going to take over is not there? How about grandkids? What if this guy wants to come back and work on the ranch? There's a lot of other issues that we can address. The whole point is to uncover where the agreement is and where there's not agreement, and who is in agreement and who's not, and who's being reasonable and who's not. And we saw that very closely in the example. How about which parts will be sold and which parts will be inherited? How about what's the place going to look like after the estates are settled? How about the grandkids? If we could give inheritance and life insurance, would that be preferable? If one of them received mostly life insurance, would they still want to have a little land on the place to call their own? That happens quite a bit. And then finally, my greatest concern over my parents settling the estate is, and also we always ask this, if I had some advice for my parents on this, what advice would I give them?